I feel like we kind of just skipped through winter.
Doesn't it though?
It was such a quiet winter.
Yeah.
It wasn't very cold. I didn't really bring my heavy jacket out that
Maybe
often.
used it once or twice.
Yeah.
I agree. And then, of course, the lack of snow, too, just kind of put a damper on this winter. And now we're going to be looking at some much warmer temperatures, especially by next week. This morning, though, little bit of a flashback to winter with just how cold it was out there. Angel Fire even got down into the single digits this morning, up to around 40 degrees now this afternoon. A little bit breezy across some of the mountain peaks as well, especially once you get out into northeastern New Mexico. But this morning, Moriarty was actually one of the coldest spots, if not the coldest spot in New Mexico, getting down to 2 degrees to start the day. It was 3 degrees in Angel Fire. Gallup broke a record low temperature this morning, dropping down to 5. Farmington got down to 19, Santa Fe 20, just a couple degrees shy of a record cold temperature there. And here in Albuquerque, we got down to 24 degrees this morning, 4 degrees away from a record low. Also got down into the single digits out in Grants. We got down into the teens in Las Vegas and Raton. 20s all the way down into southeastern New Mexico. Alamogordo even dropped down to 19 degrees to start the day. Temperatures have warmed up very quickly, though. 64 down in Alamogordo now, along with Las Cruces. Roswell's also at 64. We're in the 60s all the way up to Raton, sitting at 55 here in Albuquerque, which is about 10 degrees colder than where our high temperatures typically sit for this time of year. Winds have picked up a little bit today, too, especially up into northeastern New Mexico, and then out around Gallup as well, where we're seeing about 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts. The air is extremely dry outside, by the way. In fact, the driest air in the country is right here in New Mexico right now, with dew points down below zero. Once you start getting into dew points into the 20s and teens, the air really starts to feel dry. So you can imagine that with dew points down into the below zero and even teens below zero, just how dry that air is. The combination of that very dry air and the slightly windy weather, especially up in northeastern New Mexico, is creating this high fire danger. A red flag warning is in effect out there until 9 o'clock tonight. Just a few high and mid-level clouds moving in across northern New Mexico. The southern part of the state is sitting sunny this afternoon. The jet stream will take a slight dip down across the state again as we head into Saturday. That will bring back some windy weather across parts of New Mexico, some 50 mile per hour wind gusts possible, especially up into the northern mountains, and then along that stretch of I-40 from the East Mountains out to Tucumcari, but not expecting to see the kind of impacts from the wind like we saw earlier this week. Temperatures will warm up on Saturday too, thanks to that westerly wind climbing into the 70s in Albuquerque, 80s down into southern New Mexico. Winds die down on Sunday as high pressure starts building towards New Mexico early next week. That area of high pressure will bring us some of the warmest weather so far this year by Wednesday, when we could even get close to 80 here in Albuquerque, mid 70s up to Santa Fe and Farmington, and widespread 80s across southern New Mexico. Southern Colorado will even climb up into the 70s by Tuesday. Temperatures tomorrow morning, a couple degrees warmer than what we woke up to today. It's still going to be a cold morning, though. Lows getting down into the teens in Grants and Gallup, 20s in Farmington, up into the 60s tomorrow afternoon, though, and then into the 70s by next week. We do get a slight cool down, though, across New Mexico Sunday, thanks to a weak cold front that'll be moving through, with a bit of a bigger drop in temperatures across the eastern half of the state, though, as we'll go from the mid-80s on Saturday in Roswell to 80s still on Sunday, and then up into the mid and upper 80s again next Tuesday. Still watching a high fire danger, though, return on Saturday across eastern and northern New Mexico. So we're not done with that fire danger just yet. The good news about that high pressure moving in next week is some calmer weather. So we could actually go a few days in a row without having to worry about any fire concerns for the most part across New Mexico, starting as early as Sunday. Highs will even climb into the 70s next Tuesday up in Santa Fe. By Monday, we'll be into the 70s out in Edgewood. Tonight, dropping down into the 20s in Moriarty instead of down into the single digits like what we woke up this morning to. Here in the metro will also be a little bit warmer, but still expecting to drop down below freezing tomorrow morning. Mid 60s in the afternoon, 70s on Saturday. Highs will stay in the 70s on Sunday, and then up to nearly 80 degrees by the middle of next week.
All right. Thank you, Grant.